This episode is brought to you by Indeed. Stop waiting around for the perfect candidate. Instead, use Indeed sponsored jobs to find the right people with the right skills fast. It's a simple way to make sure your listing is the first candidates see. According to Indeed data, sponsored jobs have 4 times more applicants than non-sponsored jobs. So go build your dream team today with Indeed. Get a $75 sponsored job credit at Indeed.com/podcast. Terms and conditions apply.
A look back in time in this episode. I'm Michael.
And I'm John, and we're heading back to 2010. This is Milano Daily from Anything But Footy.
All will be revealed shortly. The Austrian Eigner family continue their golden story at Milano Cortina.
In tomorrow's news today, the former track and field decathlete trying snowboarding.
Wonder if there's any way I can try and beat other people, even though it's like completely against the nature of the sport in some ways. But yeah, then I got involved.
And there's other news from the games, including tennis and the new sport of paragymnastics.
And we talk about the Olympics and the Paralympics all the time, not once every 4 years like everybody else does. So it may be the last weekend coming up, but never fear, a new season of Great British Bosses is starting, and we've a sneak preview.
Hi, this is Duncan Goodhue. I'm lucky enough to have won Olympic gold medal, and I'm also president of Swimathon.
An Olympic champion to kick off the new season. Not bad. Yes, everything is planned because you can find out Duncan's winter sports connection as well. This is Milano Daily from Anything But Footy. Download, listen, follow. We are here every day through the Winter Paralympics, and we're going to be here every day through the next cycle of the Olympics and the Paralympic Games. The Burj Khalifa, the world's tallest building, at 2,722 feet. It officially opened in Dubai.
Matt Smith made his first appearance as the 11th Doctor Who.
Yeah, I remember him being excellent up front for Leeds United. The Conservative David Cameron became PM in a coalition government with the Lib Dems.
Don't mention tuition fees. One Direction were formed during the X Factor.
Rafa Nadal won his first US Open title, beating Olympic gold medalist Novak Djokovic.
He wasn't then. And Downton Abbey, the TV show, premiered on ITV.
All those things happened in 2010. Say it quietly, that's 16 years ago. And at the Vancouver Winter Paralympics, which of course also took place in 2010, Great Britain and Northern Ireland didn't win a medal. And with one solitary silver medal so far at these games and 3 days to go, Paralympics GB are on course for what would be the worst return in terms of medals in 5 Paralympic cycles. And in 2010, Paralympics GB took a team that was half the size of the one they've taken in 2026.
Well, someone said to me today, Michael, that these games are the games that the world's forgotten. Now, I'm not sure that I'd go that far, to be fair, but certainly from a British point of view, there hasn't been the traction of the Winter Olympics. Now, that could be for a number of reasons, not athlete related, not down to performances. But remember, Team GB didn't win a medal for the first 7 days either. But the Paralympics is, of course, shorter. The Winter Games is just a week long. There are fewer athletes competing, just over 650. There are fewer events. There are fewer opportunities. There's a changing of the guard somewhat, it feels like, with this British team. Yes, there is some experience in it, and there have been some key injuries as well, as we've talked about, but even during these games. But there is a young, fresh, new names, new faces coming through. And we've loved speaking to some of them. Fred Hargreaves, Hester Poole, for example. But hopefully they will have another chance in the French Alps building on this experience. But it's certainly not a team that you would expect to win lots of medals. And also, I think the schedule, understandably, for the Paralympics is in the daytime. It means there's no coverage in peak time television. So despite it being a home games, despite it being in our own time zone, no one, if you watch Channel 4, would even know it was on, in all seriousness. They may have great social and they may have great digital downloads, but it's not been prominent in a TV point of view. And it's not ultimately helped by not having moments, and moments that bring the nation together.
Yeah, we do have more chances. We've got Neil and Rob in the giant slalom and the slalom on Friday and Sunday. They've got one medal, maybe a couple more. Neil was overall fastest, remember, in the slalom in that combined where they won that silver. And in snowboard, Ollie Hill won bronze in Beijing 4 years ago, but was injured, of course, as we know, before the snowboard cross. So there could be a bit of a flourish at the finish, a little bit like Team GB had. They had that great weekend in the middle with Matt Weston and his 2 goals, of course. But then they hit their medal ambition, if you like, towards the end, didn't they?
Yeah.
When they picked up, obviously, the curling silver and the other medal that came.
But I do think that not many people are talking about it. Now, there is a lot going on. There is a lot going on in the world. I do understand that. And prices are rising and people are worried and various things about what's going on. But I just think it's such a contrast from the Winter Olympics in terms of just the number of people that are saying, "Oh, did you see that?" or "Did you see this?" And that's what I mean about prominence, about not being in front of people's eyes. And it is all very well saying, "Well, it's on TikTok and it's on social media," but if 4,000 people watch a video, what's the point? You need 1 million people. What is it? More people watch the curling in the Olympics, the curling semi-final, the final, than an FA Cup tie that weekend. It's had bigger audiences in the FA Cup this year, the Winter Olympics curling, and that's what we've not had in these games. A moment.
Yeah, what I would also say, though, is I think the Winter Paralympics is still very much in its infancy as far as the British sporting culture is in this country. Because if we talk about, we make a comparison to the Winter Olympics, we can talk about John Curry in 1976. We can talk about Robin Cousins. We can talk about Eddie the Eagle. We can talk about Torvill and Dean. We have that history and heritage. We can go back to the 50s and winning medals in bobsleigh. The Winter Olympics has been something that's been on television in this country, has been prominent in this country for, I don't know, 75 years, let's say. Be honest, when did the first Winter Paralympics come onto your radar? I mean, you certainly weren't following and watching a Winter Paralympics the same year you were watching Torvill and Dean or Eddie the Eagle. And you probably, I would guess, even when you go back to Shelley Rudman in 2006, you weren't sitting down and watching the Winter Paralympics in that year. I think this is only probably maybe the third or fourth time that the Winter Paralympics has been something that generally people have been interested in. And I do think, therefore, it's going to take a little bit of time to develop as an event.
And I think that goes, and you can look at the stats and you look at the medals that Paralympics GB have won in the past, goes to prove exactly what Michael has just said. I will honestly tell you that in 2010 in Vancouver, when all those things were happening, the Burj Khalifa was opening, David Cameron was coming Prime Minister, and One Direction was forming, I did not watch the Vancouver Winter Paralympics, and Great Britain didn't win a medal. They won a silver in 2006 when Shelley Rudman in Turin, and they didn't win any medals in 2002 and 1998. So you're absolutely right. We've got to the point where in 2014 in Sochi we win 6 medals and a gold medal. In 2018 we win a gold medal and 7 medals. In 2022 we win a gold medal and 6 medals. But that's the issue, that this time we're sitting on 1 silver. And there are lots of reasons, and I've talked to you about some of them, of why this is not happened, these games. But when you look at those stats quite starkly, it's like, okay, well, something's happened here and it's not quite working.
Yeah, I mean, there's no coincidence that the coverage, and we probably first followed a Winter Paralympics in 2014, was because Paralympics GB were having success in 2014, 2018, 2022, and they haven't so far this time around. Menna Fitzpatrick, Katie Guest finished 6th in the women's VI giant slalom today. Menna said afterwards, "I've definitely grown in confidence in the last few races, feeling a bit more like myself on my own skiing. I'm really looking forward to the slalom coming up." Hester Paul and guide Ali Hall failed to make it down the slope, unfortunately. They crashed, but Hester, after a worrying moment, was back up and on her feet. The teenager from Bath also delivered the quote of the games. Yeah, and having spoken to her and Ali, she is infectious in her interviews. She says, "Of course I would have liked to have put down a good run for my Paralympic debut. But some people come here and have glory stories, get gold straight away and then have to defend that. Some people have redemption arcs. So that's the angle I'm going for." She is in action again in the slalom on Saturday. Maybe that's the start of the redemption arc. Good luck, Hester, and good luck, Ali.
Oh, it's just brilliant, and that does bring joy to it, and I suppose that is a little bit of my frustration, Michael, that there are great stories and there are great things that are happening, and she is going to be potentially someone that we'll be talking about for the next few Paralympic cycles. But the Austrians are at it again. Veronika Eigner won gold in the women's giant slalom, visually impaired. It was the 23-year-old's third gold and fourth medal of these games. She's now won 5 Paralympic golds in 2 games, and Austria's Alina Stari won bronze again in that event. In the women's standing, Ebba Arjo won her 3rd title at Milano Cortina 2026 for Sweden, and Germany's Anna-Lena Forster claimed her 6th Paralympic gold medal as she won the women's giant slalom sitting.
In other news from the Games, para snowboard women's and men's banked slalom has now been brought forward because of the weather in Cortina. Was originally planned for Saturday morning. It's now going to be on Friday, day 7. Hopefully lucky for the British snowboarders.
Yeah, because it's Friday the 13th, don't forget. Now, the mixed team wheelchair curling is swiftly heading to the semi-finals as well. Defending champions China safely qualified for the playoffs, for the semi-finals. Unbeaten Canada and Sweden also confirmed, unfortunately, also confirmed. Great Britain finished bottom of the round-robin table.
Looking at the medals table, not much movement on a quiet day. Austria maintained their third place position, thanks to Veronika Eigner, as John mentioned, 5 goals, 10 medals. China and the US lead the way. This is Milano Daily from Anything But Footy. We are here every day during these Winter Paralympics. Tomorrow's news today for Paralympics GB, that's TNT, which because of the schedule change, they've caught us out here, it means it's today's news today, if you get what I mean. Matt Hamilton as another GB snowboarder, and like Nina, who we heard from yesterday, making his Paralympic debut in banked slalom. He had been inspired to participate in the sport after watching London 2012 and initially competed in junior international athletics in decathlon. Now he's competing in para snowboard. He was in the Europa Cup and the World Cups, and he started off by telling us how he got into the sport.
Sad story in a way. My dad passed away suddenly in a motorcycle accident, and we decided that Christmas that we didn't want to spend it at home. So we were trying to decide whether we go somewhere sunny or somewhere snowy. And I don't think I'd ever really seen a mountain before, to be honest. So we decided to go somewhere snowy. We went to Les Deux Alpes and had the best time of my life. That's where it all started, really. Me and my brother both learned at the same time. He's a little bit older than me. And we go up about 2 hours before our lesson, just absolutely frothing. Really excited to get a board strapped on and see what it's like. And as you can imagine, felt a lot, got really bruised, but had a good giggle doing it. And we had that competitive edge as well, just trying to best each other. Then the lesson came and again, had a really good time. We were in a small group and my brother and I did really well, progressed together. And at the end of that week, I ended up doing a red run for the first time, going over some jumps and just was like, wow, this is unlike anything I've ever tried before. It's really freeing. You can choose whether you want to go over jumps. You can choose whether you want to stay on piste, or you can be a powder hunter and, go off piste and do some adventuring. And you can even walk up the mountains on a snowboard if you really want to. So I think there's something for everyone and there's a lot of freedom involved. And I love that.
How do you go from trying it on holiday to going to the biggest stage in the world, the Paralympics?
Yeah, I know. It's a bit of a wild one, isn't it? So after that holiday, I second year and third year of university and got a contracted job up in Sheffield. And after that, I kind of decided I wanted a bit of a break. Didn't want to go straight into a career. So had a look at my options, and a ski holiday in Canada was one of them. So I went for a 2-year visa and didn't enjoy it at first, honestly. I was a long way from home. I enjoyed the winters, but didn't really know what was going on over there. And it took a while to get used to that, but I kind of had to because I was stuck with COVID. I went in October 2019, COVID hit 2020 March. So you have to make some adjustments when you're stuck in that environment. But from there, I think the snowboarding culture over in North America is really strong. there's a lot of opportunity for it. There's a lot of different mountains about. So we've done our fair share of exploring, myself and friends and my partner. And she's a really good skier. So, we race each other all the time. But I think what the turning point was I really started to enjoy the sport, and I'd stopped competing at this point. Previously, I'd done athletics and cycling, and was always competitive. Still am competitive. But snowboarding, I was like, I wonder if there's any way I can try and beat other people, even though it's like completely against the nature of the sport in some ways. Then I got involved and managed to find Alistair, who's the Snow Sport Scotland development coach, and had a chat to him. Got to a local race. It's been a wild journey. It feels like I've blinked and missed it almost.
And what can you do?
Who knows? Yeah, it's early on. So as much as I'd love to, grab a medal if I get the chance to, I think it's there's a long road ahead. And as I say, I didn't know snowboarding existed growing up. Some of these guys have been snowboarding before they could walk, so it's a tall hill to climb, if you like. But yeah, I just want to do something that I'm proud of. I think sometimes you can get down the bottom of a run and you've done good, and whether the time reflects that or it doesn't, it doesn't always match up. But if I feel that I've done what I can in the moment, then I'm going to be super proud and happy with what I can achieve. And if that means getting on a podium, then that would be, the cherry on top.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for your time. It's been great to meet you. Great to chat. Thank you.
Thank you. Lovely meeting you too.
Matt Hamilton, such a lovely story to hear his steps from growing up and all the way through sport as well. He is in action today, as Michael said, but we really wanted to share that story with you because, again, it's a great story and that's what we're all about.
In other news now, away from the Winter Paralympic Games, some big sporting events from an Olympic and Paralympic sport point of view. This month, the World Indoor Athletics Championships in Poland. I think we've got Josh Kerr coming up, Olympic silver medalist, world champion, coming up in a future edition of the podcast, coming soon. Also, we'll have the British Gymnastics Championships in Liverpool as well. And some big news is that there will be 13 young athletes who will become part of gymnastics history next week. They'll be taking part in the UK's first ever para-gymnastics trial event. Follows the recognition by World Gymnastics of para-gymnastics now as an official discipline last year. Using the new proposed rules, British Gymnastics will test the sport classes and see how they work. So next Thursday, 19th of March, on the opening day of the championships, British Gymnastics say it will be the first of a series of trial events that they do, with the ultimate ambition, of course, to establish para-gymnastics on the global stage and push for Paralympic inclusion from Brisbane 2032 and beyond.
Which would be great to see. And I think when we've been talking in this episode about the Winter Paralympics, just the difference really between the Summer Paralympics, where there doesn't seem any change from one Olympics to the Paralympics to this. And that's why I suppose it's very surprising for me, who's covering the Winter Paralympics really for the first time, just how different it is. Now, Michael mentioned those two events. There's more on the Anything But Footy fixture list, which is on our website, anythingbutfooty.com. But I need to mention this. I'm a big tennis fan. Jack Draper beat Novak Djokovic to reach the quarterfinals of the Indian Wells tournament in the States. And the British number one on his return from injuries, never beaten the Serb before. He lost at Wimbledon when they last played in 2021. He came from a set down as well to win in 3 sets. And he joins Cam Norrie, who's also in the last 8. He faces Carlos Alcaraz next.
Now, with the Winter Paralympics coming to an end and the Olympics finished nearly a month ago now, how do we switch our focus from winter to summer sports? Well, I'll tell you, by asking someone that's done both. And we are delighted. The Olympic champion swimmer Duncan Goodhue is our guest on the new season of Great British Bosses. It returns to Anything But Footy next week, talking about 40 years of swimathon, but also his bobsleigh career.
Prince Michael of Kent was there, and Mick Jagger was there, dressed in an immaculate suit and pink trainers. What else? I had maybe a glass or 2 of chlorine, and this guy sauntered up to me and said, "Oh, would you fancy a go at bobsleighing? And, I would have said yes to anything at that point. And I said, yeah, sure. And the next day it's in the Daily Mail that I'm taking up bobsleighing. So I said, okay, I'll have a go at this, Daily Mail. But you've been really naughty. You sponsor me and I'll do it. And they said, okay, we'll sponsor you. And I went, oh, God. And it was, I think swimming has an axiom which is really true. You get out of life what you put into life. And swimming is so objective. You know all the goals every day, how many lengths you swam, what time you're doing. And it really, really true. So at breakfast time, if you've hit your goals before breakfast in the training, it's really exciting because you had all these goals. Wow, yeah, or else you're drowning yourself in your cornflakes kind of thing because you haven't. But you feel really alive. And bobsleighing, you feel really alive for simply you haven't seen life until you've seen death.
Duncan Goodhue, what a gent. You have to listen to this whole episode, certainly on the bobsleigh, but on Swimathon as well. 40 years old this year. It's raising money for vital charities, Marie Curie and cancer research. And all you got to do is get sponsored and jump in a swimming pool next weekend, March 20th. And you have until Tuesday at midnight to sign up. So swimathon.org is where you need to go.
Swimathon.org. I just thought I'd mention it again because it was so great having Duncan there. And do get involved. Brilliant event. Great for your physical health, great for your mental health, and great to raise awareness and money for those charities as well. Don't forget, we'll have the very latest every day from the Winter Paralympic Games. Milano Daily will continue. You can check out our socials too. You can get in touch via the New Look website. And of course, you can listen to the Spotify Olympic music playlist from Anything But Footy. Where did he come from? Where did he go? Cotton Eye Joe has been added.
Yes.
Oh, dear. And that is the final ever episode for me. No, I'm kidding. Anything But Footy will continue with Milano Daily.